Good morning, everyone. Welcome to hour number 2 of the Tracks Midday Buzz. It's Anil on the mic over here, and it's our pleasure to welcome all of you to our special interview feature of the day. It's face to face on this Talk to Me Nice Thursday. And face to face with us is the Chief Executive Officer of Eco Nights. His name is Amlir Ayat. And Mr. Amlir here is today to talk to us about the urgency of human-wildlife harmony. Amlir, good morning and welcome to Tracks.
Morning, Anil. Thank you.
Welcome. So maybe we can start off with the basics. Could you tell us what exactly is human-wildlife conflict and why is it becoming more prevalent in our country?
Yes, thank you very much again to Angkasa Puri and also TRAXXfm for kindly inviting me here. Okay, normally when people talk about conflict, it is something which is negative. When we talk about human-wildlife conflict, normally it refers to the encounter between human and wildlife, regardless of the size or whether they are plants or animals, which results in negative consequences. When we talk about negative consequences, we normally refer to human negative consequences. We never refer to the negative consequences which are experienced by the animals. Because we can never tell how bad they feel. But when we have the problems, for example, now these conflicts or these negative consequences may be in the form of the destruction of properties, houses or cars and agricultural areas or crops, and also it could involve injury or death to human. So we have seen this a lot in Malaysia. So basically that's it. We can always refer conflict, for example, between human and mosquitoes. But it's not really serious, even though sometimes they will lead to death. But we normally talk all over the world. When people talk about human-wildlife conflict, they normally refers to the big animals, tigers, elephants.
Predatory animals.
Yes, predatory animals. Even when animals injure somebody or attack somebody, that will be considered as human-wildlife conflict. Because it is a form of encounter which results in a negative consequence to the human.
Right. And are there any particular animals specifically in the region that is affected due to this conflict?
In Malaysia and many other parts of the world, for example, in India, in Russia, or even in the western part of the world, these animals involve the big animals, normally the mammals, the cats, the big cats. In Malaysia, you have tigers, elephants, deer, tape. We don't have a lot of similar cases with other big animals, for example, seladang or the gao, and maybe the wild buffaloes, which occur in many parts of
in India,
country.
especially.
Yes, in India also you can see that
the gores just blocking the traffic.
Oh, we don't have that kind of problem.
We don't have that problem here.
Luckily, we have elephants blocking the traffic, and people cannot do anything because they know the behavior. It's a good thing that we learn the behavior of these big animals so that we can avoid them. I mean, relatively, elephants are not as shy as tigers. Tigers, they will be very careful. Stalk you, and then they will run if they find that the situation is not good. But elephants, they don't care. I used to have a hut when I was doing my wildlife project in Pahang, deep in the forest. We built a hut, not knowing that is the route or the path of the elephant.
Right.
The next time we were there, the hut was gone because the elephant just passed on. Even though there's nothing on the left or the right, it just goes.
Just rampage through the hut.
Yeah, I'm not going to take other people's route. This is my route. This is my path. So it just destroyed it. Right. And basically in Malaysia you have tigers, elephants, tapirs, and of course deer also once in a while. So these are the main animals that are facing or that are involved in human-wildlife conflict. And I'm glad that the Malaysian government had produced this National Biodiversity Conservation Policy, which stresses which prioritizes human-wildlife conflict. because human wildlife conflict is not only about the animals themselves,
Right.
but also the safety and the security of the population.
Right.
They have to take care of this. We want to save the animals, but also we want to make sure that we are living peacefully
Correct.
and as much as possible in harmony with the wildlife.
Yeah.
So this is the dilemma right now. How do we achieve this? What should we do and what not? And
Yeah.
I hope if we have time, we can discuss this.
Sure,
later on.
sure.
Yeah.
We'll delve into that biodiversity plan because that's a very interesting topic. But you, you sort of encouraged me to explore another thing a little bit more about the elephant just rampaging through the hut.
Yeah.
We see elephants as these huge animals that can actually inflict a lot of harm just by their sheer size.
Oh,
But in actual fact, I heard that they're pretty gentle giants actually, because I read an article just a couple of weeks ago that if they were to transport an elephant from one country to the other, they would deliberately place chicks all around the elephant so that the elephant wouldn't move and dislodge the balance in the airplane.
Yes.
Because the elephants would fear that they would hurt the chicks.
Mm.
So that's their nature.
Oh, that's something new to
That's
me.
how, yeah.
What I know is that
Yeah.
they will get this tame elephant which has been tamed
Tamed,
for a long
right.
time, and this elephant can actually convince
Right.
the bigger elephant or the wild elephant to go into the truck,
Wow.
get into the truck, and then in Malay it's called denak, D-E-N-A-K. This denak will bring the elephant to a safer place, to a place where, for example, in Lanchang, where they
Okay.
have a elephant rehab center,
Right.
which I would like to promote people to come and see
Sure.
and learn more about elephants
Sure.
in Lanchang in Temerloh. So that's a very good place to watch elephants and how they behave.
Right.
You have a lot of overseas students who come over there to do their projects or learn more about elephants, to be a part of their studies. So these elephants, like I said, they can be gentle and they can be fierce. So we have to know how to deal with
How
them.
to deal with them.
So that's why it's very important for us to understand their behavior.
Right.
And I'm glad I'm doing this as a part of my fellowship in University Malaya. I'm teaching some students on ethology. Ethology is about animals' behavior, ethics. So we learn, and there is a very strong requirement, strong need to understand more about animals.
Right.
Because if we do not understand them, we
Yeah.
cannot deal with them
Of course.
efficiently and effectively. We have to know. If we know how to deal with them,
Yeah.
then we can live in more better with them,
Yeah.
more in harmony with them.
Because just like human beings, they've got a social status among themselves. They've got a hierarchy. They've got
Yes.
behaviors. They've got the leader of the pack, and then
Yes.
they've got the dominant male, and then they've
Yes,
got the
imagine,
Yeah,
even
yeah.
if with human, we have to learn their behaviors because
Correct.
different individuals
Yes.
have different mindsets, different perspectives and whatnot. So imagine animals. So this is one of the things that we have to focus. In Malaysia, I think the research and development activities as far as biodiversity is concerned,
Yeah.
we have one of the areas that we have to focus is the behavior of the animals. Not only the diet, the physiology, the chemistry and whatnot, but also the behavior, because this is one of the reasons why we are facing a lot of conflicts nowadays.
Okay. Thank you very much for your thoughts. We are today speaking to the CEO of Econites, Amlir Ayat, and he's educating us on the urgency of human, wildlife, and harmony on Face to Face. We'll jump in for a quick break, and when we come back, this very fascinating discovery on human and wildlife interaction will continue. Don't go anywhere. Good morning. Welcome back to Face on the Tracks Midday Buzz. My name is Anil on the mic. And today, joining us in the studios is the Chief Executive Officer of Eco Nights. His name is Amlir Ayat, and he's talking to us about the urgency of human-wildlife harmony. Mr. Amlir, welcome back to Face.
Thank you.
Now, I want to touch on something that we are all well aware of. But before that, just to describe a scenario to you. A couple of months ago, there is a WhatsApp group in the community where I live in. And there was a time where the area that I lived in was, how do I say? We had some visitors, I should say. Monkeys.
Monkeys? Okay.
Monkeys that
Same
were
with me. Same here.
monkeys that were scavenging our garbage bin, our trash bin, and scattering all of our
course,
trash on the
yeah.
roads. And then one of the occupants of my neighborhood posted up a video of that, and then another man actually commented saying that he said it in Malay. He said, "Kesian dia sebab rosak habitat dia sendiri, dia terpaksa keluar untuk cari makan dekat tempat kita."
Yeah.
So this is probably what we are doing as human beings, deforestation, urbanization, that it's sort of harming or ruining their natural habitat, which forces them to move out. What are your thoughts on this?
This is what I refer to as dilemma right now, just now.
Yeah.
Human needs to survive, and animals, and in the process,
Yeah.
a lot of times,
Yeah.
we destroy their areas, their habitats.
Yeah.
And looking at from one point of view, we have to try our best to tolerate with that.
Yes.
Because I think right now Malaysians are increasingly understanding that these problems are caused by us.
Yeah.
I have monkeys coming to my house. 3 species of monkeys.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the long-tail monkeys, the short-tail monkeys, and there's another one I cannot recall the name, which has the black ring around the eye.
Right. Yeah.
So this
Actually, we are home to quite a number of species of monkeys, aren't we? Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Where
siamang.
do you stay, Anil?
I live in Kajang.
Kajang.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I live in Gombak, where our area is very near to the forest.
Right.
And in fact, there was a report. A tiger was seen about 100 meters away from my house.
Oh.
So, but I'm not sure whether it's really a tiger or not, because the Pelitan had been there
Right.
and looked at the area, looked for footprints. There were no tiger footprints. Maybe it's something else.
Right.
Maybe it's a young wild boar, because young wild boar, they have stripes.
Okay.
So maybe from far away in the dark, about 6 p.m., somebody can see it as a tiger.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So these are the kind of things that we have to try to solve. It's everywhere right now.
Right.
Recently, we had this case of a guy spraying paint to a monkey.
Yeah.
And
Yes, I saw that. It was enclosed in a cage.
yeah,
and
enclosed in a cage.
that was pretty irresponsible too, actually.
Well, actually, I can understand that, because when I look into the matter, there were so many monkeys around there.
that terrorized the neighborhood.
Yeah, terrorize the neighborhood. So they don't want to kill the monkeys. They believe that spraying it could make others scared.
To deter the other
Yeah, to
monkeys.
scare them actually. So I can understand that. But at the same time, for me, if we have problems, try our best to communicate with Perhilitan, Jabatan Perlindungan Hidupan Liar dan Taman Negara, or the Department of Wildlife and National Parks. Get their point of views. Try to tell them the extent of the problem,
Okay.
and then hopefully they can come as soon as possible to look at the issue. When the tiger report was lodged to Perhilitan, during that at my place, the Pelitan came straight away in a few hours. So I know they can do it. Sometimes monkeys is a very, very common problem in Malaysia.
Yeah.
So the best thing to do is try not to make them hostile, because these animals, they are sometimes very clever. If you yell at them or try to make nasty things to them, they will come back.
Yeah.
And it seems that they are revengeful. Okay, so you have to be very careful. But as far as possible, in that kind of situation, first, do not feed them, because if you feed them, then maybe they will come again.
Right.
There are a few opinions about this, about feeding animals.
Yeah.
But I prefer not to feed them because sometimes our food may not be suitable to them. Okay, so like I said, call Pehilatan.
Right.
They will try their best to solve the problem. Yeah.
Now let's go back on the biodiversity plan that you touched on earlier, right? That's something that's very important. And I think the silver bullet that you mentioned there is not only to look after the well-being of the wildlife, but also us as well. Because, a tiger may know how to protect itself from human beings, minus a man with a gun. But if we are, unarmed, of
Yes.
course, we end up being victimized by it. So, how important it is. Talk to us about the consequences if we don't pay attention to these kinds of things, both for human beings and for animals as well.
Tigers are very important. I'm not saying that they are not important and they should be eradicated if they are causing problems to human being. There is an instruction directive in Malaysia that when a tiger is known to be harmful to human being in Malaysia, the law is that if it's proven harmful or has harmed or killed or eaten a human being,
Right.
then this matter should be brought up to the minister in charge of the department.
Right.
And this only the minister can release or issue a directive to take certain action
Right.
to the animal. For example, maybe they are given the officers of the Department of Wildlife and National Park are given the license to kill,
Yeah.
or as far as I know, as much as possible, they will try to capture the animal alive
Yeah.
and bring it to somewhere else. For example, in Lanchang, not in Lanchang, in Sungkai, okay, where there is a tiger rehab center there, and maybe in Lanchang also there is another tiger rehab center there. This is something that needs to be known by Malaysians.
Right.
There are two, for example, I think at least there are two opinions. Some of Malaysians want to see this tiger alive,
Yeah.
surviving, of
Correct.
course. Okay, there are some people, especially in the rural areas, who believe that tigers need to be killed if they are harming people, which I believe that is the case, but we have to be very, very careful. If we talk about the concept of sustainability or sustainable development or sustainable biodiversity management,
Yeah.
it's about the number one is human survival. So, but of course, we have to try our best not to harm the animals. But when it comes to a situation where there is no other choice, then the animal has to be killed or captured.
That's the last resort.
That's the last resort because human is number one under the philosophy or concept of sustainable development. It's sad, but that's how it is. That I mean, you ask anybody who loves tigers, if he saw a tiger in front of him, is he willing to be killed by that tiger? No, he would.
Of course
No,
not.
get me out. Yeah, of course not.
Fight or flight. Man.
Yes. So, but like I said, we have to try to find the best ways, the best solutions. How can we live in harmony with them? We have seen.
How? So now,
Yes.
I'm going to ask you, how can we live in harmony?
We need to learn more about these animals. For example, we know certain ways. As Pehilitan people, they know how to deal with elephants because they know a lot about the behaviors of elephant.
Okay.
They do not know how to calm down an elephant, so they learn that by getting another elephant, we can get the elephant to another place in a calmer situation. Right. So these are the kind of things that we learn. We need to learn. We also need to learn about tigers.
Yeah.
How can we reduce tigers?
And leopards
attacks?
too.
Leopards. And even though tape is not a fierce animal,
Yeah.
but we have to learn how they survive.
Yeah.
And so that we can conserve them. And a friend of mine, Dr. Donny, in the Tape Rehab Center in Sungai Dusun, is doing a good job in studying tapirs.
Tapirs, yeah.
So they put all this RFID or the collar to understand their movement in the forest after they are being released. So once we know this information, like you said, people found out that tapirs are attracted to light.
Light.
That's
That's
something
what
new
I
to me.
heard. Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
That's why you find a
Okay,
lot of.
thank you very much. So we
I
need
don't
to
know how
learn
far
from
that
each
is
other.
true.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
We
yeah.
can check that out.
Yeah.
So everybody has something to learn. That's why when I teach at University Malaya,
Yeah.
teach my students,
Yes.
I told them I'm not here just to teach. I want to learn because I know that you have something that you know that I do not know. So
Yeah.
please share with me. And if I'm wrong, please, tell me. So this is how we can learn. And this learning process need to be intensive
Right.
because we are facing a very heavy development pressure, not only on the animals, but also on the human. We are also facing the effects or the consequences of this rapid development.
How important it is to ensure that the population of these tigers, elephants remain stable in our country.
It's very important because they are a part of the ecosystem.
Mm.
If ecosystem has a lot of components, tigers, elephants, insects, butterflies, plants, and whatnot.
Yeah.
All these are interconnected. We are connected to everything.
Mm.
Whether we realize it or not, whether we are in urban or in the rural area, our life is connected directly or indirectly with all this wildlife. If they disappear or if they are affected, sooner or later, we will feel or we will experience the effects. So we have to know the effects might not be big, but sooner or later it'll
Compound into something
yes,
bigger.
it's a chain reaction. One effect will lead to another one action or one event will lead to another effect or impact, and so on, and it will go on. It will
Yeah.
go on.
Yeah.
So we have to understand the importance of these animals to our survival. It's not just elephant is a beautiful thing or tiger is a beautiful thing. No,
Yeah.
I mean wild boar. Some people don't find it beautiful,
Yeah.
but still it's important to the ecosystem. We have to protect them. That's why under the Malaysian law,
Yeah.
which is governed by the Perhilitan,
Yeah.
the wild boars are also totally protected. Certain wild boars.
Oh,
even
wow.
though, yes. So this is because we know that all these animals, all this wildlife, whether it's an ant or an elephant, are a part of the survival of human being.
Wow.
That is something that needs to be inculcated and nurtured at the school level, so that people will have the understanding, okay, this is important, but how do I help to conserve them?
You spoke about schools. I was just about to ask you that. Amlir, what are you doing to educate children and create the awareness among them? Because they say you got to start them young,
Yes.
right? I remember when I was in school, at most, the only awareness or the exposure we got towards, endangered species or animals and their habitat was watching some cartoons of, the kerbau and also the buaya.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, that was, and then the sangkanchil that was really smart, and then we were told, see, the sangkanchil is really intelligent, so we got to make sure that this animal remains in our forest.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
a good way of doing it.
Yeah, your thoughts on that? What are you doing now for children in today's society?
Okay, like I said just now,
Yeah,
the components,
yeah,
every component on the earth
mm.
is interconnected to each other.
yeah,
So whenever we talk about wildlife or biodiversity, this is the kind of thing that we stress. We would like people to see that everybody is connected to each other, and we have to treat the others like they are. Our lives depend on them.
yeah.
But in order to do that, you have to know very well their behavior and whatnot.
Okay.
But try for me, what I always tell people, this: if there is no need for you to harm something
Yes.
or to use something, don't let it be there, even if it's a piece of leaf. If you go into the forest, if there is no need for you to take a leaf, don't do it. Let it be there,
Yeah.
because it's a part of the ecosystem.
Ecosystem.
Imagine 1 million people doing that. 1 million leaves, which are very important part of a tree.
Yes.
And a tree is a very important part of our survival.
Yes.
So we need to be very, very careful. If there is no need to do it, don't do it. And for me, I would say that everybody should only use something from the environment when they need it in the amount needed, not use them excessively. For example, water
Yes.
or even food. If you need to take one plate of food, that's it. Because this food, where does it come from? From the environment.
Environment. Yeah.
The more you eat, the more demand, and the more natural resources will be used, and they will affect a lot of things, other things also.
I think we should only consume whatever we need. That's what's the most important thing, because people always say that there is abundance of resources on planet Earth. So never overuse.
Never overuse.
Never overuse.
Yes,
Only take.
I think you also know this Mahatma Gandhi's quotation. He said, "The world has enough for everybody's
Everybody
needs,
needs
but not enough for everybody's greed."
greed.
When you take what you need only,
Yeah.
you'll be safe.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
if you take more than you need, because greed is the other thing, the only one of the only things in the world which is indefinite.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
infinity in greed.
Yeah. You spoke about not touching anything in the forest. My personal experience, I was drafted to national service. I like, whenever I'm reminded about wildlife and nature, because I spent 90 days, for national service training many years ago. Part of our module was to explore nature. So we were taken for a jungle walk,
Yeah.
right, deep into the forest. And the first thing we were told was not to touch anything. Not to touch a leaf. If you find something on the floor, on the ground, do not pick it up.
Yes.
If you find a flower that looks fascinating, looks beautiful, do not touch it.
Yes.
Because this is not your habitat. This is not your enclosure.
True.
It belongs to some other living beings that we are sharing planet Earth with, animals in that case.
And we do not know the rules there.
Of course.
And that's the problem, you see.
Yeah.
That's why you always have this adage saying, take photos, leave footprints, don't take anything.
Yeah.
That's,
Great.
That's
great.
good enough.
Nice.
Yeah.
We'll go in for one more final break. When we come back, we'll wrap up our conversation now.
Okay, sure.
Today on Face to Face, I am speaking to the Chief Executive Officer of EcoNights. His name is Amlir Ayat, and he's talking to us today about the urgency of human-wildlife harmony. We'll go in for a quick break. When we come back, we'll wrap up this conversation. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. This is Face to Face on Trax Midday Buzz. My name is Anil on the mic. And today joining us in the studio is the Chief Executive Officer of EcoNights, Mr. Amlir Ayat. And he's today educating us and inculcating and taking us in detail into the journey of how urgent it is for us to ensure that humans and also wildlife live in harmony. Amlir, welcome back to
Thank you.
Face to Face. Now, let's talk about actionable things that people living in urban areas can actually do to support biodiversity and wildlife protection?
Talking about short-term measures,
Yeah.
for example, if your area is being invaded
Yeah.
or attacked by these animals, first of all, like I said earlier, you have to communicate or report to the Perhilitan,
Mm.
Jabatan Perlindungan Hidupan Liar dan Taman Negara, or the Department of Wildlife and National Park. Try to discuss with them what is the problem.
Mm.
If they find it necessary to come, I'm sure they will come, because
Right.
I know this. There are incidents where they come whenever people have problems. At the same time, depending on the kind of or the species of animals that you're dealing with, you have to know how to deal with them. And
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
Pelitan will be able to help you out. Okay, that's gonna be another long
So
story.
so to put things into a scenario, because I have heard recollections or accounts of people who speak about this. They say they find a wild animal encroaching into their neighborhood, their vicinity, and then they call the fire and rescue department first. And the fire and rescue department, when they hear what animal it is, they say, "Oh, no, 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 that is not under our jurisdiction. We can't do anything about it. You got to call someone else." And then when they call the other authorities, they said, "Oh, no, 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 this is not something that we can deal with. This is push back and forth." And I think there's like a different class, because throughout our conversation, we've been speaking about elephants.
Yes.
We spoke about tigers. We spoke about tapirs. But also, there are other kinds of creepers as well.
Yes.
Snakes.
True.
Monitor lizards.
Yes.
Huge monitor lizards sometimes that come and encroach. And these are the ones that actually silently creep behind the washing machine, behind the refrigerator.
Oh yeah. True. Very true.
Yeah. So yes. Continue.
And not only that, sometimes you have the bugs, things like centipedes, which are very, very dangerous.
Yes.
Okay. So yes, snakes. I should have mentioned that earlier. When you have problems like snakes, maybe you have to call the JPA, the Jabatan
Civil Defense.
Civil Defense. They'll be able to help.
Yeah.
I mean, people call JPA to get their cats down. The fire department to get their cats down. Okay, that's out of the discussion lah, because that's not conflict.
Yeah.
So, but whenever you have problems with monkeys,
Yeah.
tigers, or elephants, Pelitan is the agency to call. Other animals, snakes, you call the bomber of the JPA.
Right.
And that's one thing.
Okay.
Make a report or discuss with the relevant agencies. And secondly, try not to what they call this, provoke the animals. Whenever you have, sometimes you have to defend yourself, of course.
Okay.
But if the problem is not serious, then try to your best to minimize the provocation with these animals. Monkeys are very good at taking revenge, so be careful. Okay, it happened to me.
So I think the term elephant's memory can be changed now to monkey's memory as well. They remember what you've done to them.
Yes. They remember very well.
Oh, really? Yeah.
They remember very well. But elephants, like I said earlier, if you are nice to them, they will be nice to you. I've seen many years ago there was a movie called, it's a Hindi movie. Chal Chal Mere Sati or something like that. Yeah, so it shows how elephants can be nice to people.
Yeah.
You know. So again, people need to know how to deal with elephants.
Yeah.
Whenever we have something to share with people about elephants' behavior, I suggest that we share with everybody. This is how knowledge, not only knowledge can spread, but also good attitudes, good ethics with animals can spread. We need to learn. Right now, there's an increasing need for us to learn about these animals. We are encountering them every day. If we know how to deal with them, then no matter how many cars cross the highway, go along the highway, we can solve the problem if we know how to deal with them. And I see that a lot of Malaysians, they're already learning about how to deal with these animals. Tigers, we may have a problem with, because these animals are very, very solitary. They don't appear a lot, so we may have to learn them more in terms of how can we reduce their intrusion. Well, not intrusion, is their area. Intrusion into the
encroaching urban areas. That's the problem. That's when it becomes an issue.
Right now we don't have a lot of issues with tigers going into urban areas, maybe in rural areas or in agricultural estate.
Do you know? Do you know what exactly motivates these animals to come out of their habitat and you know, and because typically, like what we mentioned throughout the conversation, they have their land, they have their habitat, and so do we, and they have everything that they need supposedly where they're living. What causes them to come out then?
No, to say that they have
Maybe they might not.
whatever they want
Yeah,
in the area that they are occupying now
occupying.
may not be true, because they are normally looking for food. So when the forests are gone,
Yeah,
the sources of food are also gone.
right.
So that's why they have to leave. For
Yeah.
example, elephants. Some elephants come out of the forest because there's not enough food there. So they go to agricultural or oil palm estates to get the food, especially in forms of young shoots. That's why some oil palm estates, they are scared
Yes.
to plant new oil palm trees, because these new palm trees, the young ones, will be eaten by the
By the elephant.
elephants. This is happening in places like in Johor, in Kota Tinggi. I know cases because I was doing an elephant study there together with another friend, and we found out that one of the reasons that they leave the forest is because they are looking for food in the Felda settlements and also in even in the housing areas. There is one or two cases where they go into a housing area,
Right.
taman perumahan,
Yeah.
and they eat some of the plants there.
Right.
So, what is
So
the
food,
solution?
food is the primary
Yes,
concern.
food
That's
is the primary concern. So, assuming this is what they are looking for, then maybe
Yeah.
maybe what we can do is that provide food for them just before they leave the forest. Give them some food,
Yeah.
and then maybe it will stop them coming into the houses or the residential areas
Yeah.
or human settlements.
Yeah.
And this had been proven to work in other places.
Right. Right.
And I believe we can do that in Malaysia.
Yeah.
And we have to know very well how much food is needed, where are they going to look for food,
Yeah.
and that's where we put the food.
Right.
So if this can be done,
Yeah.
then perhaps we can look at the results later
Yeah.
on. Study.
Wow. Amlir, I must say, this last 45 minutes of chatting with you, I've learned a lot of things, many takeaways.
Thank you. I learned a lot from you too.
Yeah, I think I would have been one of your best students if I was sitting in your class, but too bad.
Thank you.
I've gone past university.
I'm glad to hear that.
I would have taken every note verbatim of everything you said. It was so
Yeah,
fascinating
yeah.
to hear
Yeah.
you. But I think the takeaway is that people in urban areas look at wildlife encroachment differently, and people who live in rural areas as well.
Yes.
For them, it's a different set of problem.
One thing that I need to, I will try
Sure.
to say this quickly. We need to learn from the indigenous people also.
Yes.
Orang asli. They
Orang.
have a lot to tell us, to share with us. Learn from them.
Sure. And I think also just to conclude this, if it means that these tigers and leopards are leaving their natural habitat because of lack of food, maybe it's because people are hunting down what they generally hunt down.
Yes, they are scared of human.
Right.
They leave the forest.
In 1 minute, any final words before I let you go, Amlir, for today?
Okay, again, I would say that one of the most important things that we need to focus is use only when we need to use something, and during only when we need it. That's all. If
Right.
we can stick to that, be moderate as much as possible, then I think the impact of our lives on the environment will be minimized.
Sure. Amlir Ayat, Chief Executive Officer of Econites, thank you so much for coming over here and
Thank you.
and having this conversation with us. You take care.
You too.
All right, that is a wrap for today's edition of Face to Face on Track's Midday Buzz. We spoke to Amlir Ayat, the Chief Executive Officer of Econites, on the urgency of human-wildlife harmony. Many things that we learned today. If you missed out on any part of this conversation, you can catch the replay by visiting Tracks FM official's Facebook page. We're less than 4 minutes away from the strike of the hour, so coming up is another very important element of our show programming, which is the news. And then right after that, I shall be back with you for more of Track's Midday Buzz. Don't go anywhere.